Chapter 7. The city of Mumbai was always alive, pulsing with the rhythm of a million stories unfolding at once. Some stories thrived in the light, while others lurked in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to emerge. At Singhania Towers, the grand rehearsal hall had become Naina's second home. She had thrown herself into perfecting the choreography, but ever since that night on the rooftop with Aditya, something had shifted. Their partnership no longer felt strictly professional. There were lingering glances, unspoken words, and an undeniable tension that neither could ignore. She wasn't sure what scared her more, the pull she felt toward him, or the possibility that it was all an illusion. Aditya too felt the weight of it. He had always been in control, but with Naina, he found himself on unfamiliar ground. He admired her fire, her independence, her refusal to be swayed by power. And yet, part of him feared that if he let her in, she would see the cracks beneath his perfect exterior. That fear had no name, but soon it would. The past arrived in the form of Megha Malhotra. The Singhania Group's headquarters was abuzz with murmurs when she walked through its glass doors. Megha had always commanded attention. Tall, poised, and effortlessly elegant, she belonged to the same world as Aditya, a world of wealth, power, and carefully orchestrated perfection. She had been gone for nearly 3 years, ever since she had broken off their engagement and moved to London. And yet here she was, sitting in Aditya's office as if nothing had changed. "You look well, Aditya," Megha said smoothly, crossing her legs as she regarded him with a knowing smile. Aditya leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "I didn't expect to see you again." "I know," she admitted. "I shouldn't have left the way I did." He folded his hands on the desk. "Then why are you here now?" Megha tilted her head, studying him. "I made a mistake, Aditya. I left because I thought I needed more. But I realized that what I had with you was," she hesitated, as if searching for the right words, "real." Aditya exhaled slowly. "You didn't just leave, Megha. You walked away without looking back." "I was scared," she said, her voice softening, "of how much I felt for you, of what it meant to be part of your world. But I've grown since then, and I know what I want now." He didn't speak, but the storm in his eyes gave away his thoughts. "I want another chance," Megha continued. "You and me. We belong together." Aditya stared at her, searching for any trace of sincerity. Megha had always known exactly what to say, how to manipulate a situation to her advantage. "You think you can walk back into my life and pick up where we left off?" he asked, his voice quiet but firm. She smiled, undeterred. "I think you still have feelings for me." Aditya's first instinct was to deny it, but the past was a stubborn thing. It clung to the edges of his mind, whispering doubts he didn't want to acknowledge. Megha saw the hesitation in his eyes, and she knew she had planted the seed. "This isn't over," she said before leaving. As the door closed behind her, Aditya let out a slow breath. He had moved on, hadn't he? But why did it feel like the past was tightening its grip? And why was the first person he thought of Naina? Naina had just wrapped up rehearsals when she saw the message from an unknown number. "Meet me at Cafe Aranya at 6 p.m. Rishi." Her heart stilled for a moment before picking up speed. Rishi Sharma. He had been more than just her mentor. He had been the person who had shaped her into the dancer she was today. He had believed in her when no one else had, pushing her beyond her limits. And then, just when she had started to gain recognition, he had left, accepting a prestigious position in New York. She had tried to move past the disappointment, but a part of her had always wondered what would have happened if he had stayed. At exactly 6, she walked into Cafe Aranya, scanning the room until she spotted him at a corner table. He hadn't changed much. His sharp eyes still held the same intensity, though there was a new ease in his posture. "Naina," he greeted with a warm smile. She sat down, unsure what to say. "It's been a long time." "It has," Rishi agreed. "And I've been following your work. You've become everything I always knew you could be." She felt a strange mix of pride and resentment. "If you knew, then why did you leave?" Rishi sighed. "Because sometimes opportunities come at the wrong time. And sometimes, we don't realize what we've left behind until it's too late." Naina swallowed, pushing aside the emotions threatening to surface. "Why are you here, Rishi?" He leaned forward. "I want to offer you something. A residency at the Avery School of Performing Arts in Paris. They're looking for a lead instructor, And I recommended you. Naina's breath caught. Paris. One of the most prestigious dance institutions in the world. A dream opportunity. But why now? Rishi continued. You don't have to decide right away. Just think about it. She hesitated, but then Rishi's expression shifted. Before you do, I want to ask you something. Are you sure about Aditya Singhania? Her stomach twisted. What do you mean? Rishi sighed. I know his type, Naina. Men like him don't change. He might admire you now, but people like him always choose their own world in the end. You deserve better than to be someone's momentary fascination. His words struck deeper than she wanted to admit. Aditya had been different with her, hadn't he? But Megha had been part of his world. The kind of woman who fit seamlessly into his life. And now she was back. Naina felt the weight of uncertainty settle over her. That night, she found herself standing outside Singhania Towers, staring up at the massive building. What am I even doing here? She was about to leave when she heard her name. Naina. She turned to see Aditya approaching, his expression unreadable. For a moment, she wanted to ask him everything. Is Megha back? Do you still love her? Was Rishi right about you? But instead she forced a smile. Just finishing up some work. Aditya studied her, sensing something was off. Is everything okay? She hesitated. I got an offer. A teaching residency in Paris. Something flickered in his eyes, something she couldn't quite place. That's incredible. Yes, she said, waiting for him to say more. But he didn't. And somehow, that hurt more than she expected. She nodded once, then turned to leave, her heart heavier than it had been when she arrived. And behind her, Aditya stood motionless, watching her go, feeling, perhaps for the first time in his life, that he was on the verge of losing something he hadn't even allowed himself to claim.